Okay, good morning. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought, let us begin our meditation. We focus our mind on our breathing primarily and pay total undivided attention to the breath without verbalizing or conceptualizing, and simply pay attention to the breath. It doesn't matter where the breath touches, we simply feel the breath somewhere and notice that feeling. That feeling rises along with the breath, falls along with the breath. Perception rises and falls with the breath. Attention rises and falls with the breath. Consciousness rises and passes away with the breath. All these are all together, simultaneously rising and falling. We don't try to isolate one of them. Let them rise and fall. We just become aware of them. This is a very wonderful way of calming and relaxing our mind, body, and the breath. And then no greed, clinging, craving at that time can arise. At this moment, our mind is totally preoccupied with the awareness of rising and falling of all aggregates. And then the mind, body, the breath become very calm, relaxed and peaceful. At that time, we begin to feel metta feeling. Metta we recited at the beginning. Now, without any words, thought, only metta feeling we experience. This is also a very wonderful feeling. No resentment, anger, rigidity, uptightness is there in our mind. we completely merged with metta feeling, and we feel that all living beings are breathing with us. They all are our friends. We are their friends. No distinction between one and another. With this wonderful feeling, resentment fades away. When that happens, again the breath, the body, feeling, perceptions, all these become very calm, relaxed, and more peaceful. This state sometimes can lead to sleepiness. That also is very natural occurrence. When sleepiness arises, it is very sweet, and naturally the mind welcomes sleepiness and drowsiness. At the same time, we must be fully aware of the fact that sleepiness does not prompt our wisdom. No insight in sleepiness. Even if you have dreams, they don't bring any insight. And therefore we have to arouse energy. I recommend as very quick remedy for overcoming sleepiness and drowsiness is to take deep breath, hold it as long as you can, and then slowly breathe out. Again take a deep breath, hold it as long as you can, and then breathe out slowly. When you do this several times, your body warms up, you even feel perspiration, and then sleepiness will disappear. You have quite a good amount of energy. Sometimes this energy may be too much. That leads to restlessness and worry. When restlessness and worry arises, then we have to recognize it, understand that restlessness and worry is in me. This also is not very conducive to gaining concentration. The mind goes to the past and brings all the past experiences or memories. Or mind goes to the future, planning the future. In order to avoid these two extremes, we have to anchor the mind on the present moment. In fact, the present moment is all we have at any given moment. However, present moment is not empty moment. Breath is going in and out, feelings rise and fall, perception rises and falls, thought rises and falls, consciousness rises and falls. All these are happening right now in the present moment. They all rise and fall, without remaining the same even for 2 consecutive moments. Changing. Then restlessness will disappear, and then we may still have certain amount of doubt. doubt about the Buddha, the system, the Sangha, and your own achievement, your own ability, skill. We first have to overcome our doubt about the Buddha, the so supremely enlightened being who discovered the method of mindfulness. Using the same method, he attained full enlightenment. From his own experience, he taught us to be mindful, practice mindfulness. Following his advice, the disciples, close disciples of the Buddha, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, attain liberation. But the Buddha himself followed his own teaching as his teacher, guide, his mentor. Following the Dhamma's guide, the Buddha attained enlightenment. Similarly, we can follow the guide of Dhamma, the Sangha, and the Buddha to gain insight. They all taught us from their own personal experience. Buddha attained this state and encouraged us that we also can attain that state if we follow his footsteps. So friends, this much confidence we can instill in our mind, and then also look at what we have already gained. You have been able to overcome greed, anger, sleepiness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry, and therefore you can trust yourself that you also can overcome your doubt. You also can attain the same state by following instructions. With this trust, you will be able to overcome remaining hindrance, doubt. Once the doubts are out of your way, you are full of joy, because it's as if you have paid off your debts, you overcame your greed. As if you have overcome your sickness, you have overcome your anger or resentment. As if you have came out of a prison, you have overcome your sleepiness and drowsiness. As if you were free from slavery, you overcome your restlessness and worry. As if you came from a desert where you got lost, you came out of it, you overcame your doubt. Now all the hindrances are out of your way. You feel full of joy, and that increases by degrees, and then joy leads to happiness. When the mind is full of happiness, you gain concentration. These are the steps, sequence of gaining step by step, gradually to gain concentration. Once you gain concentration, you are not like a vegetable, but your mind still is working, and you gain full concentration of impermanence. All alone you saw things arising and passing away. Even when you gain concentration, now your mind is very sharp and clean. With mindfulness and concentration, and use that concentrated and sharp and powerful mind to see again the aggregates of form, feeling, perception, thought and consciousness, and you definitely see all of them rising and falling in such a rapid speed that you hardly can notice, hardly can isolate one from another. They all rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall together. That helps you to overcome greed, hatred and delusion. That is our goal. Keeping this in mind, let us try the practice. All may not happen very quickly, but I mentioned the method, the system of the way we attain that state. So this is, we have repeated many times already, and I will continue repeating the same thing until that is very easily settled in your mind. Now let us begin. By means of these meritorious deeds, may I never join with the foolish, may I join always with the wise, until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, friends, let me give my talk. This is the 14th talk on right understanding. We have discussed factors related to right understanding in terms of dependent origination. And we take dependent origination one factor at a time. Today we start with sixfold base, Salayatana. So Venerable Sariputta asked the monks, what is the sixfold base? He asked 4 questions every time he discussed a factor of dependent origination. So when he came to sixfold base, he asked the same questions. What is the sixfold base? What is the origin of sixfold base? What is the cessation of sixfold base? What is the way leading to the cessation of sixfold base? You remember these 4 questions regarding Four Noble Truths. What is the suffering? What is the cause of suffering? What is the end of suffering? And what is the path leading to the end of suffering? The same format he used to explain 12 factors of dependent origination and 4 other related factors. Now, he himself elaborates this. Now, this is first thing is, what are the sixfold base? They are called eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base and mind base. Chakku, Sota, Ghana, Jivha, Kaya, Mana. They are called Ayatana. Chakkayatana, Sotayatana, Ghanayatana, Jivayatana, Pottabhayatana, Manayatana. They are called Indriya also. And those are the sixfold base. 6. And the arising of sixfold base is with the arising of mentality and materiality, sixfold base arise. What is the cessation of sixfold base? With the cessation of mentality and materiality, sixfold base cease. The way leading to the cessation of sixfold base is the same noble eightfold path. This is the standard explanation or presentation of the first section of the discussion. So we have discussed mentality, materiality several times in the past. For you to recall, let me recapitulate. What are they? Phassa, Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Manasikara, plus Vijnana. Contact, feeling, perception, attention, volition, attention, and consciousness. We all know without consciousness, none of them can work. Anytime contact arises, consciousness arises. When feeling arises, consciousness arises. Perception arises, consciousness arises. Volition arises, consciousness arises. Attention arises, consciousness arises. Therefore, consciousness is always with them. And then, what is the materiality? The four primary elements: earth, water, air, fire. Without four elements and fivefold mental factors, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and consciousness cannot arise. With the conception of a being like us, conceived in the mother's womb, that instant four elements and consciousness arise simultaneously. This is explained in various places like Mahanidana Sutta and so forth. And then all this arise simultaneously. When the consciousness arises, contact, feeling, perception, volition, and attention arise. All of them are in very, very rudimentary state or undeveloped state and unable to express feelings, perception. But there are these factors nevertheless. Volition and attention also are not well developed. Even though consciousness is there, it does not express or function fully well until the baby is grown a little bit in the mother's womb. At certain stage of development, the baby's physical contact, feeling of heat, feeling of cold, mental perception and attention begin to operate very clearly and can even hear mother's voice and feel mother's emotion and experience certain amount of things only in the mind. For this reason, in Buddhist, very ancient traditional Buddhist countries, mothers are, when they come to know that they are pregnant, there would be very special advices given to her. Advices are to think very peaceful thoughts, sing very pleasing songs, perhaps recite Buddhist chanting, and eat very healthy food, and practice meditation, particularly metta meditation, and protect the embryo as if she is protecting very valuable treasure. Advice is given to everybody in the household around her to be gentle, kind, friendly, cordial, and help her have very peaceful mental state without getting upset, nervous, angry, quarrelsome, and so forth. Everybody cooperate. That whole system in Pali is called pregnancy ceremony. Pali word is Gabba Parikara. Parikara. So, then, now let us come to the last of these four states of explanation. First is what is sixfold base. Second is the origin. Third is the cessation. Fourth is the way lead into the cessation. Now, for the cessation, of course, is understood. The end of all this is the cessation. But how the Noble Eightfold Path leads to the cessation. We read Noble Eightfold Path, we listen to Noble Eightfold Path, we talk about Noble Eightfold Path, but how do we apply that? That is very important to remember. The application is the most important thing. In the application of Noble Eightfold Path, say for instance, number 1 is right understanding. Right understanding is not right view. Right understanding of the entire thing. Right understanding of dependent origination. Right understanding of Four Noble Truth. Right understanding of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. These three segments, what are they? Right understanding of the Four Noble Truth, right understanding of the dependent origination, right understanding of the Four Noble Eightfold Path, and right understanding of anicca dukkha anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. This is a very practical level. In this level, understanding is a practical application of Noble Eightfold Path. That is why I emphasize this many times. Therefore, right understanding is the foremost factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right understanding. Everything depends on right understanding. This is the first step. Using the entire Dhamma depends on right understanding. We may learn Dhamma, memorize Dhamma, read Dhamma books, listen to Dhamma talks, and applying that to our daily life depends on our understanding of the Dhamma. Then Understanding the Four Noble Truths is absolutely necessary to overcome every factor of the dependent origination. Now, dependent origination is and Four Noble Truth, Noble Eightfold Path, all are intertwined together. They all are together. Therefore, understanding Four Noble Truths is also extremely important for understanding dependent origination. Understanding impermanence is the solution for destruction of karma. Now, we all talk about karma. We talk about what is karma. We define how the meaning of karma, and we explain how we commit karma and so forth. As long as we keep committing karma, we perpetuate karma. It is going merry-go-round. You commit a wholesome karma and you get wholesome results and you like it very much and commit more wholesome karma and then get more pleasure, benefits, then commit more wholesome karma. So in that way you cannot see the end of karma within sight, even in the remote distance, because you keep committing again and again and again and again. But with the right understanding of impermanence, we can see karma also impermanent. Understanding impermanence is therefore very important for destruction of karma, destruction of this sixfold base. Sixfold base is the dukkha. Sixfold base is the dukkha. We have to get rid of this dukkha. In order to get rid of this dukkha, we must understand that all the sixfold bases are impermanent. If we want to get rid of dukkha, we have to understand dukkha is impermanent. Therefore, we see in various places, particularly in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, every moment there are 60 moments open for greed to arise. 60 moments arise every day for greed to arise. These 60 moments arise every day through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind. If greed arises, what comes along with the greed is suffering. Greed breeds pain. Greed breeds grief. Greed breeds suffering. No any exception. Therefore, when the sixfold base cease, that means the greed that arises through the sixfold base cease, then suffering comes to an end. So, what one has to do is to see impermanence in the sixfold base. Impermanence of the pleasure that we experience through sixfold base. Impermanence. They are really, literally impermanent. No exception. That is why when the Buddha delivered the first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, he even did not mention anicca. He simply said, there is a dukkha, there is a cause of dukkha, there is an end of dukkha, and there is a way to leading to the end of dukkha, ending dukkha. Venerable Kondanya listen between sound waves. You know, we sometimes say, see between lines. See between lines. Venerable Kondanya, among 5 first disciples of the Buddha, paid such a keen attention, undivided, sharp attention, bending his ears well towards the every word that Buddha uttered. And his mind was inwardly converting itself. His mind inwardly was disciplining. Mind inwardly was disciplining. That is called Dhamma Vinaya. We discipline ourselves to be very gentle, gentlemen, ladies, and be polite and courteous and follow etiquettes and manners and so forth by Sikkhapada Vinaya, by observing rules and regulations and etiquettes and manners and so forth outwardly. Outwardly. That is called Sikkhapada Vinaya. But very seldom we pay to Dhamma Vinaya. That means disciplining through the Dhamma, through understanding Dhamma. That's why I say understanding is absolutely necessary. When we understand Dhamma, we go inside and see how much of this I have, how much of greed I have, how much of hatred I have, how much of delusion I have, how much of jealousy I have, how much of confusion I have. So while listening to Dhamma, we go inside. Venerable Kondanya was very highly developed. He was even older than even the Buddha. Older than Buddha. Although he became Buddha's disciple, he was older than Buddha. And he paid attention to every word that Buddha uttered. What he saw there is impermanence. Impermanence. So he said, whatever is subject to arise, that passes away. Whatever arises, that passes away. When this happened in his mind, immediately he attained stream entry. All his doubt vanished. His notion of I vanished. His following all the rituals to attain liberation vanished. Why? They all are impermanent. As soon as he saw impermanent, he immediately uttered, in Pali, it is recorded in Pali, yang kinchi samudaya dhammang sabbang tang nirodha dhammang. whatever is of the nature, whatever is of the nature to arise, that is of the nature to pass away. That means whatever arises, that passes away. All other persons who attain the stream entry, Venerable Sariputta, layperson Upali, and many thousands of people attain the stream entry by, there are many other factors, but the most important factor is seeing impermanence as impermanence. So, everybody that attains stream entry, neither. And also Buddha proved the non-existence of self by questioning everybody, anybody who listens to him, who has the notion of self. Buddha questioned him, that person. It is just like asking a child a question, very simple question Buddha asked. Is I permanent or impermanent? What is the answer? Impermanent. Ear permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. Nose, tongue, body, mind. And the form permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. Feelings permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. Perceptions permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. Thoughts, volitions permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. Consciousness permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. These are the five what we call aggregates we have. Form, feeling, perception, volition and consciousness. They all are impermanent. This is how we apply Noble Eightfold Path. We apply Noble Eightfold Path to overcome greed, to attain liberation. This is the first step of the Noble Eightfold Path, understanding. So when we apply this to our daily life, we also can come to same realization. There cannot be different type of realization. And therefore, in this discourse, Venerable Sariputta mentioned at the end of each section, the path leading to cessation of such and such is a Noble Eightfold Path. Number one of them is understanding. Everything else flows from understanding. Thinking, speaking and acting and livelihood and effort, mindfulness, concentration, all follow right understanding. And therefore, whenever you think of Noble Eightfold Path and how we can apply it to overcome suffering, you must remember the number one is understanding. What to understand? Understand the same thing, Noble Eightfold Path, same Four Noble Truths, same dependent origination, same anicca dukkha anatta. It doesn't differ from person to person. There's universal truth. You don't have to be belonging to one particular religion. Everybody knows things are impermanent. Well, friends, then so when people answer the question, yes, if body is permanent or impermanent. If somebody say yes, Buddha would ask, prove me. Prove that your body is permanent. Is there any sign of permanence of the body? All the signs are directing towards impermanence. Any sign of the body. Can you say feelings are permanent? Any sign of feeling show towards impermanence. Any perception, any thought, any consciousness, you cannot find anything in them permanent. And therefore, this understanding is absolutely necessary for all of us to get rid of our defilements, greed, hatred, and so on. And even to get rid of our karma, get rid of our desire to commit wholesome karma, let alone unwholesome, because we know that they are painful. That is why the Buddha said, in Alagadupam Sutta, the Buddha said, Dhammo bhikkhave pahatabba phageva adhamma. Because even the Dhamma should be given up. One should not hold on even to Dhamma. Do not hold on to Dhamma. Do not cling to Dhamma. Let alone adhamma. So, we have to learn not to cling to our wholesome karma, let alone unwholesome karma. That is called kammakkhaya karma. Karma that destroys karma. There are various things to say, but in today's talk I cannot mention all of them. And friends, I want to end this series of talks. Perhaps I can wind down all of them and give one more last talk this year, next week. Then I start my personal seclusion till March next year. So it will be a 3 months seclusion. At the same time, I must say, I make an exception to children. I give a Dhamma talk to children every Sunday at 3 o'clock, using the same Zoom. Of course, anybody is welcome to listen to that talk. I particularly focus the mind on children. For their sake, I sacrifice 1 hour every Sunday from my meditation period. I devote to them. And adults have enough material to think, digest and practice till next year, March. Oh, thank you very much for listening. And I want to conclude this talk as usual, wishing all those who are in hospitals suffering from COVID-19 and any other disease, may they recover very quickly, return to normal health and continue their Dhamma practice, live long in very good health to practice Dhamma and finally attain liberation from samsaric suffering. May all the doctors, nurses who very compassionately help these people to recover, sacrificing even their own health and taking a lot of risks, They sacrifice their comfort, energy, skill, and so forth to take care of these people. May they live long in very good health to continue their compassionate service. And those people who lost their loved ones may be grieving. I want to wish them to be free from grief as soon as possible and continue their Dhamma practice and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. And those who are generously supporting various projects for recovering these people and giving health, giving care, and so forth. In many ways they help. May they continue their wonderful service. And those leaders who have taken leadership insightfully, compassionately, may they continue their insightful, compassionate leadership to help the world, and may they all live long in good health and attain liberation. Finally, all those who have been participating in this series of talks since the March last year, and may they continue their practice, and your support helps me to, you encourage me, you gave me more energy to talk, and may you all live long in very, very good health and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu,
Bhante.
sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu.
Sadhu, Bhante.